Welcome to The It Factor. We're Jemmy and I, exploring a new blog post by Mr. Len Kaplan, CEO of CDML, a managed service provider in Queens, NY, offering network management, voice over IP, unified communications as a service, or UCaaS, cybersecurity, compliance, infrastructure as a service, cloud solutions, and Microsoft 365 and Azure solutions. If you're a small business owner or manage IT for a growing organization, this deep dive is for you. So the core premise of the post we're discussing, why cybersecurity training for staff is now a core security control.
Yeah.
It feels like a major strategic pivot.
It absolutely is.
For years, we viewed security training as, a compliance checkbox, maybe an optional HR thing. But Mr. Kaplan argues that this view is just.
Yeah.
It's outdated. He says training is no longer optional. It's a foundational technical safeguard, as essential as your firewall.
It's a complete mental shift. We're moving security from being a purely technical problem to a hybrid one that's really centered on human trust.
Right.
So our mission today is to unpack the specific modern attack methods that have made this change necessary. These threats, they rely entirely on staff behavior, not system flaws.
And we need to understand why training is the most powerful defense.
For any organization, regardless of its size.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with that central thesis from the blog post. Why is the human being suddenly the weakest link? Why isn't all of our expensive security tech enough anymore?
Well, the key finding is that the threat landscape has matured. Attackers aren't wasting time trying to break really sophisticated technical controls.
Your multi-factor authentication, your state-of-the-art firewall.
Exactly, your endpoint detection. They've realized it's just cheaper, it's faster, and honestly much more reliable to focus on predictable human behavior.
So trust familiar tools.
Routine tasks, that's the big one.
So if I'm a small business owner and I just invested heavily in a new security stack, say next-gen antivirus, a compliant cloud setup, are you telling me that investment can be just completely nullified by one distracted employee?
That is the hard truth that the post really illuminates. We traditionally think of core security controls as technology, right? Things designed to harden the perimeter.
Build a bigger wall around the cats.
A bigger wall, exactly. But organized threat actors have learned that staff can be tricked into just opening the gate from the inside.
Ah.
They engineer campaigns specifically around human expectation. If your staff isn't trained to spot a highly personalized impersonation attempt, that expensive firewall becomes, well, it's irrelevant.
Because the user themselves just granted access.
They walked them right in.
That makes perfect sense.
How?
The return on investment for the attacker is just massive. Why try to brute force complex code when exploiting a busy employee's need to get a task done is so much easier?
That's it. And that's why Mr. Kaplan argues training is now functionally a core security control. It addresses the most common entry point, which is human decision-making.
And it's not just about the big corporations.
No, not at all. It's important to stress this. Organized groups actively target organizations of all sizes because small businesses often have less formalized training.
Making them the low-hanging fruit.
Precisely.
Okay, let's move into the specifics. This is where the blog post really shines, detailing how these modern attacks exploit routine, everyday activities. Let's talk about the silent threat of compromised websites first.
This one is so important for business owners to understand because it significantly expands what we call the attack surface.
Which is a technical term, but what does it really mean for, say, a non-technical owner?
Think of your network as a secure house. Traditionally, your attack surface was the front door, your email, and the windows, your servers.
Okay, simple enough.
Now, thanks to threats like this, every routine website visit your staff makes just opened a temporary unmonitored side window.
Wow.
The post discusses compromised websites delivering malware through hidden scripts. This is code that is deliberately obfuscated or masked, and it's injected into otherwise normal-looking legitimate sites.
Like a supplier portal or local news site, they check on their lunch break.
Precisely. And the user does nothing wrong. They don't download a file, they don't click an obvious banner ad, they simply visit the site.
And that's it.
That routine browsing activity triggers a multi-stage automatic process in the background, and that process installs remote access malware.
Giving the attacker control over the employee's machine, which is now inside your network.
You got it.
That is genuinely alarming because it feels unstoppable. I mean, if normal web browsing is dangerous, how can training possibly mitigate that?
So the training lesson here is about proactive vigilance. While technical tools can help, awareness training teaches users to recognize abnormal browser behavior.
Like what? What should they be looking for?
Sudden unexplained lag, unexpected browser redirects, or unusual pop-ups that just seem out of place. This helps staff understand that threats aren't limited to just emails anymore.
The goal is early reporting then.
It's all about early reporting. If a user recognizes something is wrong with their browser, they report it, and the IT team can quarantine that machine before the remote access malware takes hold. Your staff become the sensors.
They're detecting the threats the technical controls might have missed.
Exactly.
All right, shifting gears a bit. Let's talk about new technology being weaponized. The blog post mentions a startling trend with AI tools. I think most of us assume AI tools are helpful and, inherently secure.
And that misplaced trust is exactly what attackers are exploiting.
Oh.
The post details incidents where victims were guided through search results or even inside what looked like a legitimate, trusted AI chat session. The attacker is essentially weaponizing the very idea of helpfulness.
I'm not sure I follow. How does that translate into malware delivery? It sounds abstract.
It's incredibly direct. Once the attacker establishes that pseudo-helpful relationship in the chat, maybe the user is asking how to fix a system error, they deliver the critical step. The victim is instructed to run system commands. They're presented as standard system updates or maybe optimization fixes. The user, trusting the source and needing to solve their problem, runs the commands.
So the user becomes their own worst enemy. They literally execute the malware installation themselves.
We call that user-driven execution. Think about the psychology here. The attacker didn't need to break any code. They just relied entirely on the user completing a simple step, framed by a seemingly trusted authority.
The AI tool.
The AI tool. No technical exploit was required.
So this means the training has to shift dramatically. The old rule was, don't click weird attachments. The new rule is, verify all system instructions, even if they seem helpful.
That's it, exactly. Staff have to understand that trust in a tool doesn't eliminate the risk of misuse. When you're faced with instructions to run system commands, which are always high-risk training, has to emphasize caution and verification with IT before you execute.
No matter how legit it looks.
No matter how legit.
Okay, now let's talk about the one classic that never goes away. Phishing. The blog post notes it's still the most reliable entry point, but the methods are evolving way beyond, Nigerian princes.
Oh, miles beyond. Phishing still works because it targets urgency and familiarity. The post highlights two major evolutions that small business owners really need to be aware of. First is something called infrastructure abuse.
Infrastructure abuse. Sounds technical, but it's really about credibility, isn't it?
Absolutely. Attackers realize that filtering software often trusts major cloud providers. So instead of hosting a fake login page on some sketchy website...
They host it on a trusted platform.
Exactly. They host their fake banking or Microsoft 365 login pages on trusted platforms like Azure or Amazon Web Services. Because the link itself points to a major professionally hosted domain, it looks legitimate.
To both the email filter and the user.
Both. It just sails right through.
That erases one of the biggest warning signs we used to teach employees to look for. What's the second evolution?
The second, and I'd say maybe more dangerous, is the impersonation of internal workflows. Attackers are doing deep reconnaissance now. They send emails designed to mimic your everyday internal processes.
Like what? Give me an example.
A SharePoint document notification, a mandatory HR electronic signing request, maybe an updated finance invoice from accounts payable.
And these are designed to target specific roles, right? Like administrative or finance staff who are constantly dealing with these requests.
Yes, they rely on the sheer volume of legitimate internal communication. You get 20 SharePoint notifications a day. One fake one arriving at a busy moment is so easy to miss.
The urgency and familiarity are perfectly crafted to just harvest credentials.
They're exploiting your organization's internal culture of trust.
So bringing all these threats together, the AI commands, the silent infected websites, this hyper-realistic phishing. What does this mean for the small business owner listening right now who might be feeling, frankly, overwhelmed?
It means we have to formalize training as a preventative control. Mr. Kaplan's post really emphasizes that effective training addresses these specific classes of behavioral risk, not just abstract fear.
I do worry, though. For a small team, asking them to analyze every single link, every browser flicker, every system command, doesn't that cripple productivity? How do you balance security with just getting work done?
That's a great question, and it's where good training is actually empowering, not overwhelming. The goal is informed decision-making, not constant paranoia.
Mhm.
When staff understand the underlying behavioral mechanisms, the impersonation, the user-driven execution, they stop being reactive liabilities. They become the security control itself. They just learn to slow down.
And that fractional pause is the key defense.
It is. The training lesson across the board here is clear. Staff must be trained to evaluate context, not just appearance.
Why am I receiving this? Is it truly urgent? Did I actually ask for this?
Exactly. And we can even give an actionable tip right now, based on that principle, the 3-second rule.
The 3-second rule, I like it.
If an email concerns money, login credentials, or sensitive data, train your staff to pause for just 3 seconds and verify the request internally through a separate channel, Slack, phone call, text.
But not by replying to the suspicious email.
Absolutely not. That small trained behavior can reduce the effectiveness of these impersonation attempts by, I'd say, 90%.
That's a fantastic, tangible takeaway. And the post highlights 4 specific ways training makes staff a preventative control. Let's run through those quickly.
Sure. First, limiting that user-driven execution we saw with the AI example. Second, reducing the effectiveness of sophisticated impersonation attempts across all platforms.
Third, shrinking the practical attack surface from just routine browsing. If staff spot and report the strange browser behavior right away, that side window gets closed quickly.
And fourth, and this is crucial, encouraging early reporting before a small issue like a single credential exposure can escalate into a massive, costly incident like ransomware.
Early detection saves fortunes.
It really does.
So the blog post closes by mentioning CDML's approach. If a small business owner is looking to revamp their security training, what does a modern, effective program actually look like?
It has to include training that is constantly aligned with current threat behaviors, not generic lessons from 5 years ago.
So focusing on these evolving impersonation and execution methods?
Right. It means phishing simulations have to be based on realistic impersonation scenarios, mimicking those internal workflows we discuss.
And I imagine guidance on new tools like AI is part of that.
It has to be. Plus, you need clear, non-punitive reporting workflows that encourage staff to speak up without fear of being blamed. And it all needs to be integrated with the business's broader security and compliance goals.
Absolutely. The final thought for you, the listener, is this. Organizations that invest in educating their staff are fundamentally building a defense system that works.
Because when attackers focus on human behavior instead of technical vulnerabilities, the person becomes the primary security control. They reduce risk, they detect threats earlier, and they recover faster when incidents do occur.
That proactive defense, informed by knowledge, is your biggest competitive edge right now. Thank you for joining the deep dive into the new blog post by Mr. Len Kaplan on why cybersecurity training for staff is now a core security control. If you found this deep dive valuable, please click the thumbs up button wherever you're listening.
And remember that new blog posts come out every Tuesday and Thursday detailing the latest in security and IT solutions.
We invite you to visit https.cdml.com and subscribe to the blog for more essential insights. Till next time.